Padre Pio once said something that shocked even the cardinals at the Vatican. He looked at a woman who had been praying the Rosary for 40 years for her deceased husband and told her, "Not a single one of your prayers has reached his soul." 40 years of devotion, 40 years of daily Rosary beads, and nothing, absolutely nothing had crossed the veil between this world and purgatory. Why? Because this woman was making a mistake that 90% of Catholics still make today. A mistake so subtle that no one has ever taught you about it. A mistake that completely blocks the power of the Rosary for the souls of your departed loved ones. What I'm about to reveal to you in the next few minutes will forever change the way you pray the Rosary. Padre Pio only taught this secret to a select few in San Giovanni Rotondo. 3 of those people became cloistered nuns. 2 others received the gift of tears, and one, only one, freed 7 souls from purgatory in a single night. What did she do differently? She corrected this fatal error, and tonight you're going to understand exactly how. But before we go any further, you need to understand something fundamental. The Rosary is not a simple prayer. It's not a mechanical ritual where you recite words while your mind wanders elsewhere. The Rosary is a spiritual weapon of a power that even demons dread. Padre Pio knew this better than anyone. He physically fought the forces of darkness every night in his cell. His stigmata bled every time he prayed for the souls in purgatory. He knew that the Rosary, when prayed correctly, can literally open the gates of heaven for suffering souls. But there's a problem that the modern church has almost forgotten to mention. A problem that causes millions of rosaries to be prayed every day around the world, without ever reaching their destination, without ever easing a single soul, without ever opening a single door of purgatory. Maybe you too feel this frustration. You pray, you recite, you do everything you've been taught, but deep down, something tells you it's not really working. You wonder if your deceased mother really receives your prayers, if your father hears you from beyond, if that loved one you lost knows you're still thinking of them. And this uncertainty gnaws at you, because you love. And when we love, we want to be certain that our love crosses the borders of death. I understand. Padre Pio understood too. That's why he spent countless hours teaching pilgrims how to truly pray the Rosary for the deceased. Not the Rosary you think you know, but the Rosary that works, the Rosary that tears the veil, the Rosary that makes the walls of purgatory tremble. Let me tell you what happened in September 1947 in San Giovanni Rotondo. It seemed like an ordinary day. Pilgrims were lining up for confession as usual, but among them was a woman named Emily Colucci. She was from New Haven. She had traveled 200 miles on foot. Yes, on foot, because her husband Joseph had died 6 months earlier in a work accident, and she couldn't afford the train fare. Joseph was a good man, a practicing Catholic. He went to Mass every Sunday. He recited the Angelus at noon. He had even built a small shrine in their backyard, where the family gathered for the evening Rosary. Everyone thought Joseph had gone straight to heaven. After all, wasn't he the very example of a good Christian? But Emily had doubts. Every night since her husband's death, she had the same dream. She saw Joseph standing before a large, closed door. He looked at her with eyes full of sadness. He reached out his hands to her, but an invisible force held him back. He couldn't speak. He couldn't move. He just stood there, frozen before that door that never opened. Emily had consulted 3 different priests. The first told her it was just her grief creating these dreams. The second advised her to take sleeping pills. The third, more open to mystical realities, told her to pray the Rosary for Joseph, which she did. 15 decades a day, morning, noon, and night, for 6 whole months. But the dreams continued, identical, night after night. Joseph before that door, those sad eyes, those outstretched hands, that inability to speak. So Emily decided to come see Padre Pio, because it was said that he saw souls, that he read hearts, that he knew things that no one else could know. When her turn came at the confessional, something extraordinary happened. Padre Pio looked at her before she even opened her mouth and said, "I know why you've come. I see your Joseph. He is in purgatory." But that's not the problem. Emily felt her heart stop. Padre Pio had just confirmed her worst fears. Her beloved husband, the man with whom she had shared 32 years of life, was suffering in purgatory. Padre Pio continued, "The problem is, your rosaries are not reaching him, not a single one in 6 months." Emily collapsed. How was this possible? She prayed with such fervor. She recited each Hail Mary with devotion. She meditated on each mystery. How could her prayers be blocked? It was then that Padre Pio revealed the fatal error. And that error, I'm going to show you in just a moment. But first, you need to understand something essential about how prayers travel between our world and purgatory. Something that very few people know, even among theologians. You see, many people imagine that prayer works like postal mail. You send your prayer, it travels somewhere in the afterlife, and it arrives at its destination. Simple, automatic, mechanical. But that's not how it works at all. Padre Pio understood this through his mystical visions and his conversations with the souls in purgatory. Because yes, the souls came to visit him, sometimes at night, sometimes in broad daylight. They told him about their sufferings, their waiting, their hope, and these souls had revealed something troubling to him. They told him that some prayers reached them with incredible force, like a ray of sunlight piercing the clouds of a stormy sky. But other prayers, far more numerous, remained blocked. They floated somewhere between heaven and earth, unable to cross over. Like letters, never delivered. Like phone calls that never connect. Why this difference? What makes one prayer break through while another remains blocked? Padre Pio had identified 7 key obstacles, 7 mistakes that the faithful make without even knowing it. And among these 7 errors, there's one that's more common than all the others, an error that Emily Colucci had been making for 6 months without realizing it, an error that you might be making right now as you pray the rosary for your loved ones. But before I reveal this error to you, let me tell you what Padre Pio did next with Emily, because what happened that day in San Giovanni Rotondo changed not only her life, but also our understanding of prayer for the departed. Padre Pio asked Emily to step out of the confessional. He told her to return the next morning at 5 a.m. before the first Mass. He said he was going to show her something he almost never showed anyone. Emily didn't sleep that night. She remained kneeling in the small church, praying, weeping, hoping. When dawn broke, she was already in front of the confessional, waiting. Padre Pio arrived at 5 o'clock sharp. His eyes were red. His bandaged hands trembled slightly. He had visibly spent a difficult night, battling the demons that tormented him regularly. But despite his fatigue, there was a fierce determination in his gaze. He led Emily into a small room behind the sacristy, a room that very few people knew about. He closed the door and lit a single candle. Then he told her to kneel. What happened next? Emily only revealed 40 years later, on her deathbed. She made her granddaughter promise to pass on this story, and it was this granddaughter who became a Carmelite nun, who documented it for the Vatican archives. Padre Pio began by doing something unexpected. He took Emily's rosary beads, those beads worn by years of prayer, beads that should have been imbued with her devotion, and he held them before his eyes for a long moment, without saying a word. Then he shook his head and murmured, "I see it now. I see the blockage." Emily waited, her heart pounding so hard She felt like it was going to explode. Padre Pio placed the rosary beads on a small table and looked Emily straight in the eyes. This look, she later described as the gaze of someone who sees the soul in all its nakedness, a look impossible to sustain and impossible to escape. He told her, "Sidul, you pray with your mouth, but your heart is elsewhere." Emily protested. She prayed with fervor. She thought of Joseph with every Hail Mary. How could he say her heart was elsewhere? Padre Pio raised his hand to interrupt her. "No, you don't understand. You think of Joseph, yes, but you think of yourself thinking of Joseph. You pray for him to be released, yes, but deep down, you pray for your own pain to cease. You want him to be in heaven so that you can be at peace. It's your relief you seek, not his." These words struck Emily like lightning because she knew, in the depths of her being, that Padre Pio was right. Every time she prayed the Rosary, she was indeed thinking of her own pain, her own emptiness, her own loneliness. She wanted Joseph to be freed, so she could finally sleep in peace, so she could finally stop having that terrible dream. Padre Pio then explained what I now call the first law of the Rosary for the departed, and this law changes absolutely everything. He told her, "When you pray for a soul in purgatory, you must disappear completely. You must become invisible to yourself. The prayer must not contain a single drop of you, not your desire for relief, not your need for certainty, not your fear of having lost him forever, nothing of you, everything for him." It's a radical requirement. And maybe you're thinking right now, "But how is that possible? How can I pray without being present in my prayer?" That's exactly what Emily asked, and Padre Pio's answer will surprise you. But before I give it to you, I must explain something fundamental about the nature of purgatory itself, something that Padre Pio had learned directly from the souls who visited him. You see, purgatory is not a place of arbitrary torture. It is not God punishing souls out of sadism. No, purgatory is a place of purification, and this purification concerns one thing, and one thing only: attachment to the self. The souls in purgatory suffer because they must free themselves from everything that bound them to themselves on earth. Their pride, their vanity, their self-centeredness, all those layers of the self that prevent the soul from uniting perfectly with God. And here is the terrible paradox. When you pray for a soul in purgatory, with your own ego at the center of the prayer, you are sending it exactly what it is trying to free itself from. It's like sending a bottle of liquor to an alcoholic who is trying to get sober. It's like offering chains to someone who is struggling to break free. Your prayer, instead of helping the soul, holds it back. Instead of purifying it, it strengthens its attachments. Instead of opening the gates of heaven, it closes them even tighter. That's why Emily's rosaries weren't working. Every prayer she sent was imbued with her own ego, her own pain, her own need. And Joseph, instead of being relieved, was kept in his state of suffering. When Padre Pio explained this to Emily, she was devastated. She realized that for 6 months, not only had she not helped her husband, but she may have even prolonged his suffering. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She fell into deep despair. But Padre Pio took her hands, and for the first time she felt the heat emanating from his stigmata through the bandages, a supernatural heat that seemed to penetrate to the depths of her being. He told her, "Do not despair. What you have done out of ignorance can be undone by knowledge, and now you will learn." What Padre Pio taught Emily that morning, in that small room, is what I am now going to pass on to you. It's the exact method for praying the Rosary in such a way that your prayers truly reach the souls in purgatory, the method that allowed Emily to free Joseph in just 9 days. The method that cloistered Carmelite nuns still use today to liberate hundreds of souls. But this method demands something of you, something difficult, something your ego will fight with all its might, because your ego doesn't want to disappear. Your ego wants to be at the center of everything, even your prayer. Are you ready to hear what Padre Pio revealed? Are you ready to completely transform how you pray the Rosary? Are you ready to do what 90% of Catholics refuse to do? If so, then listen carefully to the following, because what you are about to hear isn't taught in ordinary catechism classes. It's not what you learned during your first communion. It's something much deeper, something far more demanding, something infinitely more powerful. Padre Pio called this method the Rosary of Annihilation, a name that might seem frightening at first, but when you understand what it truly means, you'll realize it perfectly describes what must happen in your soul for your prayers to become truly effective. Here's how it works, and I warn you, what you're about to hear will likely challenge everything you thought you knew about prayer. The first step of the Rosary of Annihilation is what Padre Pio called the preparation of emptiness. Before you even pick up your rosary beads, you must create a space of absolute silence within you. Not just external silence, not just a quiet room where nobody bothers you. No, inner silence, a total void. Padre Pio explained to Emily that most people pray with a cluttered mind. Even when they think they're focused, their minds are filled with images, memories, anticipations, fears, desires, and all that mental noise pollutes the prayer. It's like trying to send a radio signal through thousands of sources of interference. The signal is sent, but it never reaches its destination. To create this void, Padre Pio taught Emily a precise technique. She had to sit in silence for exactly 15 minutes before starting the Rosary. During those 15 minutes, she was to do nothing, think nothing intentionally, visualize nothing, not even pray, just be there, present, empty. Each time a thought arose, she had to let it pass, like a cloud in the sky, not fight it, not cling to it, just watch it pass and return to the void. Padre Pio told her, "You must become like a completely empty vase. Only when you are empty can God fill you, and only when you are filled with God can your prayer reach the souls." This preparation is crucial, and yet almost no one does it. People grab their rosary beads, immediately start reciting, and then wonder why their prayers seem to bounce off an invisible wall. The second step is what Padre Pio called the total offering. Before starting the first Hail Mary, you must make an explicit offering of yourself, not of your prayers, of yourself, entirely. Padre Pio gave Emily these exact words to say, "Lord, I offer myself to you completely. I renounce everything that I am. I renounce everything that I want. I renounce everything that I hope for. Take me, use me, make me a pure instrument of your mercy for the soul of my departed loved one. I am nothing. I ask for nothing. I expect nothing. May your will be done." These words might seem extreme. Renounce everything you hope for, expect nothing. That's almost impossible to accept for our human nature. But it's precisely this impossibility that makes the prayer powerful. Padre Pio explained, purgatory can only be opened by a key that doesn't exist in this world. That key is total surrender. When you truly surrender everything, you create a breach in the wall that separates the worlds, and it is through that breach that your prayer can pass. Emily had trouble understanding at first. How could she pray for Joseph without wanting his relief, without hoping for his liberation? Padre Pio answered her with something profound. He said to her, "You can desire his liberation with the Spirit of God, not with your own. When you make this total offering, you let God desire through you, and the desire of God is perfect. It isn't polluted by the ego. It isn't distorted by attachment. It is pure love, and it is that pure love that liberates the souls. It's a subtle but essential distinction. You don't stop wanting the liberation of your departed loved one. You stop wanting that liberation from your own selfish point of view. You let God want through you. You become a transparent channel through which the divine will can act. The third step is what Padre Pio called the conscious recitation. And it's here that most people make their biggest mistake. They recite the Rosary automatically. The words come out of their mouths, but their minds are elsewhere. They think about their daily problems. They mentally make their grocery lists. They wonder what they're going to have for dinner tonight. Padre Pio was adamant. A rosary recited without consciousness is like a letter without a stamp. It will never be delivered. But what is consciousness? In this context, it's not simply thinking about the words you pronounce. It's much deeper than that. Padre Pio taught Emily Guy that each Hail Mary must be prayed as if it were your last, as if your entire life depended on that single prayer, as if the eternity of your departed loved one rested on those few words. He told her, when you say Hail Mary, you must truly Hail Mary. You must see her before you. You must feel her presence. You must bow inwardly before the Queen of Heaven with total reverence. When you say full of grace, you must contemplate that grace. You must see it as a light that fills Mary completely. You must be dazzled by that grace, as if you were seeing it for the first time. When you say the Lord is with thee, you must feel that divine presence. You must understand that Mary carries within her the creator of the universe. You must tremble before this unfathomable mystery. And so on, for every word of every Hail Mary. Each phrase must be a contemplation. Each word must be an act of adoration. Nothing must be mechanical. Nothing must be automatic. Emily realized with dread how superficial her rosaries had been. She had recited thousands of Hail Marys without truly living a single one. She had pronounced the sacred words as one recites a shopping list, without presence, without depth, soulless. Padre Pio reassured her, don't condemn yourself for the past. You didn't know, but now you do know. And from this moment on, every rosary you pray will be different. The fourth step is what Padre Pio called the union with the mystery. When you pray the rosary, you normally meditate on the mysteries, joyful, sorrowful, luminous, glorious. But Padre Pio taught a particular way to meditate on these mysteries when praying for the departed. He said to Emily, when you meditate on a mystery, you shouldn't just think about it. You must enter it. You must become part of the scene. And above all, you must place the soul of your loved one within it. For example, when you meditate on the Annunciation, imagine Joseph present in that room in Nazareth. See him kneeling beside Mary when the angel Gabriel appears. Let the light of this mystery envelop him. Let the grace of this moment touch him. When you meditate on the crucifixion, see Joseph at the foot of the cross. Let the precious blood of Christ flow over his soul. Let every drop wash away his sins. Let the death of Christ become his liberation. This technique is extraordinarily powerful because it places the soul of the departed directly into the saving events of salvation history. It allows him to receive the graces of these mysteries in a direct and personal way. Padre Pio revealed something even deeper. He said, the mysteries of the Rosary are not past events. They are eternally present in the heart of God. When you place the soul of your loved one there through meditation, you are truly placing it within these events. He truly receives these graces. It's as real as if he had been physically present in Nazareth or at Calvary. This is a mystical truth that is difficult for the rational mind to grasp, but the saints have always understood it. Time does not exist for God in the same way that it does for us. What seems past to us is always present to Him, and through contemplative prayer, we can access this eternal presence. The fifth step is what Padre Pio called the final seal. After reciting the entire Rosary with all the necessary awareness and depth, you must finish in a very specific way. Padre Pio taught Emily these concluding words: "Most Holy Virgin Mary, I place this Rosary in your immaculate hands. Take it yourself to purgatory. Place it yourself on the soul of my loved one. May your maternal love be the vehicle of my prayer. I add nothing of myself to it. I withdraw. May your will and that of your Son be done." This seal is essential because it accomplishes two things. Firstly, it places the prayer back into the hands of Mary herself, and Mary has a special power over purgatory that few people know. Padre Pio revealed that every Saturday, Mary descends into purgatory with an army of angels. She travels through the different regions of that place of purification, and she releases the souls who were particularly devoted to her during their earthly lives. But she also releases the souls for whom the Rosary has been prayed in the right way. When you place your Rosary in Mary's hands, you allow her to deliver it to its destination herself. And Mary never gets the wrong recipient. She never loses a prayer. She always delivers. Secondly, this final seal reaffirms your total effacement. You withdraw from your own prayer. You release it from all selfish attachment. You allow it to be purely a gift from God through you. Padre Pio said to Emily, "Many people ruin their rosaries at the last moment. After praying well, they mentally add personal requests. They secretly hope for signs or confirmations. They want to know if it worked. And this attachment to the outcome contaminates the entire prayer. You must learn to pray without ever looking back, like an archer who releases his arrow and doesn't follow it with his eyes. The arrow will hit its target or not. But that's no longer your concern. Your concern was to aim correctly and to shoot. The rest belongs to God." These 5 steps constitute what Padre Pio called the Rosary of Annihilation: preparation of the void, total offering, conscious recitation, union with the mystery, final seal. Emily listened to these teachings with absolute attention. She engraved every word in her memory. She understood why her 6 months of prayer hadn't worked. She had done the exact opposite of everything Padre Pio had just taught her. But now she knew, and that knowledge would change everything. Padre Pio gave her one last instruction before sending her away. He said, "Tonight you will begin. You will pray the Rosary of Annihilation for Joseph. You will do it for 9 consecutive days, a novena, and I promise you that on the 9th day, you will have a confirmation that your prayers have reached their destination." Emily asked him what kind of confirmation she should expect. Padre Pio smiled and said, "You will know it when you see it. God's confirmations can never be confused with anything else." What Emily experienced during the next 9 days defies ordinary imagination. Each evening, she locked herself in a small room in the inn where she was staying near the monastery. She began with the 15 minutes of silence. Then she made the total offering. Then she recited the Rosary with an awareness she had never known before. The first 3 days were the most difficult. Her mind resisted. Her ego rebelled. With each attempt to create inner emptiness, thoughts arose, memories of Joseph, regrets, fears, hopes. She had to constantly let them pass, return to the void, start again. But from the 4th day on, something changed. The void became easier to reach, the inner silence deeper, and something unexpected began to happen. During her meditation on the mysteries, Emily began to have visions, not dramatic visions with lights and voices, subtle visions, almost imperceptible at first. She really saw Joseph in the gospel scenes. She saw him in Nazareth at the Annunciation. She saw him in the stable in Bethlehem. She saw him at the foot of the cross. And in these visions, Joseph was changing. His sad face from the dreams began to brighten. His hands outstretched in the void began to join in prayer. The closed door before which he stood began to show cracks of light. On the seventh day, Emily had a dream unlike any other. She saw Joseph, no longer in front of the closed door, but in front of the same door, now ajar. A golden light streamed from the opening. Joseph gazed at it, but this time without sadness. There was gratitude in his eyes. Love. Peace. He opened his mouth, and for the first time in 7 months he spoke. He uttered a single word. Thank you. Then the door swung open completely, and he stepped into the light. Emily awoke in tears, but these weren't tears of sorrow. They were tears of pure joy. She knew with absolute certainty that Joseph was free, that her prayers had reached him, that the Rosary of Annihilation had worked. She rushed to the monastery to tell Padre Pio about her dream, but before she could even speak, he said, I know. I saw it too. Joseph entered heaven last night at 3 a.m. The angels were singing. Emily collapsed, overwhelmed with gratitude. She had accomplished what seemed impossible. She had freed her husband's soul from purgatory in just 9 days, after 6 months of failure. The difference, the method, the Rosary of Annihilation. Now, you might be wondering, does this method really work? Can anyone use it? Can my loved ones be released in this way? The answer is yes, absolutely yes. Padre Pio taught this method to hundreds of people over the years, and the testimonies of souls being freed multiplied. There was the case of Anthony Bellini, a professor from Boston, who freed his mother after only 5 days of the Rosary of Annihilation. His mother appeared to him in a dream, radiant with light, and said, My son, your prayers have cleansed me. I will now behold the face of God. There was the case of Sister Immaculata, a Franciscan nun from Philadelphia, who used this method to pray for the forgotten souls in purgatory, those who have no one left on earth to pray for them. In 10 years of this silent ministry, she released, according to her careful estimates, more than 3,000 souls. There was the case of Father Dominic, an elderly priest who had spent 40 years celebrating masses for the deceased, never knowing if his prayers were effective. When he learned the Rosary of Annihilation from Padre Pio, he began to receive regular confirmations. Dreams, signs, inner certainties. He finally knew that his ministry was bearing fruit. But there's something important you need to understand. The Rosary of Annihilation is not a magic formula. It's not a mechanical recipe that works automatically if you simply follow the steps. It's a disposition of the heart. It's an inner transformation. It's a path of death to self. Padre Pio warned, some will try to use this method as a technique. They will perform the external gestures without the internal conversion, and they will be disappointed, because God cannot be manipulated. God does not respond to techniques. God responds to the sincere heart that truly surrenders itself. That's why the 5 steps aren't recipes, but invitations. They invite you to transform. They invite you to die to yourself. They invite you to become what you weren't before. And this transformation doesn't only benefit the souls for whom you pray. It benefits you as well, because the path of annihilation is the path to holiness. It's the path that all the saints have walked. It's the path that leads to God. Padre Pio often said, when you pray for the dead in the right way, you are also working toward your own salvation. You learn to die to yourself before you die physically. And this spiritual death, paradoxically, is the path to true life. You now hold in your hands a priceless treasure, knowledge that Padre Pio shared only with a select few. A method that can truly liberate the souls of your loved ones from purgatory. But knowledge alone isn't enough. You must put it into practice. You must sit down tonight, create silence, make the offering, recite with awareness, enter into the mysteries, and seal the prayer. You must do it not once, but every day. Not just when you feel like it, but even when it's difficult. Not for your own comfort, but for the real relief of the souls who await your help. Because they are waiting. Truly, at this very moment, the soul of your father, your mother, your spouse, your child, your friend, may be waiting behind that locked door of purgatory. They're waiting for someone to pray in the right way. They're waiting for someone to annihilate themselves sufficiently so that the prayer can pass through. And if you don't do it, who will? Padre Pio often asked pilgrims this question: if you don't pray for your dead, who will? The modern world has forgotten the dead. Families no longer pray together. Children don't even know the rosary beads. The souls in purgatory are increasingly alone, increasingly forgotten, increasingly suffering. And you have received this knowledge. You have received this method. You have received this power to liberate. What are you going to do with it? I leave you to ponder that question. And I leave you with one last word from Padre Pio. He said, "The day you stand before God for judgment, He will ask you what you did for the souls in purgatory. And if you answer that you didn't know how to help them, He will show you this moment when you learned the truth. And He will ask you why you didn't act. So act tonight, now. Pick up your rosary beads. Create silence. Make the offering. Pray with awareness. Enter into the mysteries. Seal your prayer, and liberate the souls who have been waiting so long for your help. If what you've just heard has touched you, if you feel that these words of Padre Pio can help other souls, then I ask you for one thing, not for me, for the millions of Catholics who don't know what you know now, for the millions of souls in purgatory who are waiting for effective prayers. See the super thanks button below this video. It's not just a simple donation button. It's your way of saying, this knowledge must spread. It's your way of becoming an instrument of divine mercy for the forgotten souls. It's your way of joining this small group of people who take the communion of saints and prayer for the dead seriously. Every contribution helps create more content like this. Every contribution helps reach more people. Every contribution is a prayer in itself for the souls in purgatory. Padre Pio once said, "He who helps spread the truth about prayer for the dead earns merits for his own eternity, because that person participates in the liberation of thousands of souls trapped in purgatory." Now, before we conclude this video, I have a question for you, an important question. Have you ever had a mysterious experience connected to someone who has passed on? Perhaps a vivid dream, a presence you felt so strongly, an inexplicable sign, a sudden fragrance with no earthly source, an inner knowing that someone was visiting you from beyond the veil. Share your experience in the comments below. Share it with this community, because each story, each piece of shared experience strengthens the faith of others. Each true story reminds us that the veil between this world and the next is thinner than we often believe. And if you haven't had such an experience, simply write the name of the departed soul for whom you will begin the Rosary of Annihilation tonight. By writing their name, you perform an initial act of remembrance, a first gesture of love, a first prayer offered up to heaven. May the Blessed Virgin Mary guide you in this new practice. May Padre Pio intercede for you from heaven, and may the souls of your departed loved ones finally find the peace they deserve. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen.